Hi, I'm Morocco Nemeth. I'll be teaching this course this summer, Ling 11, LO1, um, Introduction to Linguistics. This is just a video where I'm trying to introduce myself and the course before I really introduce myself in the course. Because I have another video following up um, on this that'll introduce the course in more depth. Um, So, my name is Moroku. This is a Japanese first name. I'm not Japanese. My parents were hippies. They gave me Japanese name. If I was pronounce it correctly, it'd be like more like Mirok instead of I say Moroku, but they don't really. All the Japanese fluent speakers that I've worked with kind of tell me it doesn't sound like that. So, um, that's my first name. Uh, and my last name is Nemeth, which is a Hungarian last name, very common. Means the German and Hungarian. My dad's family's originally from Hungary. Um, and so I have a master's in English literature, a master's in linguistics. I've taught for 29 years, including 2 years in Saudi Arabia. Taught English as a second language. I have taught English, high school, 15 years, and off and on college, university, stuff like that, uh, since 1995. I don't know how many years altogether. I've been teaching West Hills. This will be 14 years. I've been teaching this class uh, since 2016. I think this is like my 23rd time or something like this. And I developed it online. I really like. I like the course. I think it's a good course. I think that um, I have a lot of feedback from a lot of students on it. Um, and you know, linguistics is a different field, and it may be like, oh man, I have to take this course and blah, 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 blah. But you put some time into it, and I guarantee you, you will find things that are of interest to you. You know, and at the end of the course, I'm going to ask you what you've learned, and in the midterm, I'll ask you what you learned. And invariably, people have different answers that um, vary, and they're really cool. They're cool answers, and um, they can be totally different within a class of, especially 50 people. And I like that about it because linguistics is really wide and it's really broad, and the perspective in linguistics is really wide and really broad. So, first question I may ask you, and I'm going to try to do these kind of like little play posit videos where I ask you questions is, you know, what is linguistics? Do you know what linguistics is? Do you authentically know? Can you authentically say it? Like, I'm taking this class, linguistic, it's about this, right? And, I'm saying that because I got my master's in linguistics in 1996. In 2016, they asked me to teach linguistics. And I was like, sure, but I haven't studied in 20 years, but I want to do it. I mean, I studied it, but most of it I've been teaching ESL and teaching English, and I do a lot of post-colonial studies and other stuff like that. And I haven't refreshed a lot of my linguistics, or I hadn't. And I took a couple of great courses over the winter before I started teaching or wherever. And I read a whole bunch of books and on linguistics. And you know, uh, I prepared a lot for the class, and then I got to the class, and there were 45 students, and I asked, what is linguistics? And two students out of 45 knew what it was. So, you know, now I understand it's just a requirement people take, and when they enter, a lot of times they don't know, and that's fine. Anytime you don't know something, you can learn. So linguistics is the study of language. It is now it's like the ling is like lang, like related to tongue, the Latin word for tongue. And so we talk about mother tongue, what your mother taught you. Um, and, you know, linguistics, this course will have about almost 18 subfields of study that you could take courses in. You could focus on, you get a PhD in, right? Um, so this is just the overview of linguistics. And I can, you can take deep dives all over the place, but I just want to get you oriented toward what linguistics is and some of the dimensions. I've done martial arts for 40 something years, and um, when you learn a martial art that deals with different dimensions of stand up to ground to standing grappling to grappling on the ground to takedowns to, different weapons and their range and all these other things. You know, every time you learn a new dimension, it's an amazing thing. And some people never see those dimensions that you can operate in as a martial artist. And linguistics is really the same, just a lot less having to do with violence. I mean, linguistics, you know, has to do with language, and if you think about language and what it involves, it's so much, right? And so the class will be an overview of language, and part of it's science, parts of it are science, parts of it are art. Um, by the way, I will explain a little bit more who I am later. I have a YouTube channel, which I don't necessarily recommend. I don't do much on it, but I do have some lectures and other stuff. I have some old eskrima matches. We do armored. Yeah, eskrima is Filipino stick, knife, open hand fighting, and I have some tutorials. Uh, you know, some blade work, um, other stuff like that. So that's not me. That's not me. But I have a channel with a whole bunch of stuff like that. Not that I'm like pushing my channel or whatever. But if you're ever interested, me 50 kicks in 30 seconds when I was didn't have bad knee problems. Like this little tangent might be interesting. Um, but and there are some actual lectures there that I will um I'll be integrating several. I mean, you're probably going to want to watch the ones that are relevant for the class 100%. So, um, the modules are just really, really quick. I'm going to have every week I'll have an overview. Um, and I've been teaching this since 2016. Um, look at the overview for each week, right? And I'll tell you what to do. This one will have a little bit more orientation because of the syllabus and getting to know these are all the clickable assignments, but they're also in the modules. Um, now, the course requires 162 hours of coursework for a 6-week course. That's 27 hours a week. It may or may not take you that long, but try to make sure that you've reserved enough time for the class, and try to keep the pace. Right? Let's look at the pace, right? Um, the first week is the 10th through the 16th, right? And these are the assignments. You have some discussion boards, you have some swatching videos. This one is crash course is 10 minutes, 11 minutes. Steven Pinker is about an hour. There is a transcript, so there are introductory questions for readings on linguistics. It may take you, a half hour or something to do that. There's some extra credit, et cetera, et cetera. But in the first week, it'll be overall questions like reading about linguistics, and the second part will be looking at language development and can, human language development, how did human language evolve? What do they think? Because we only have written records, for 5,000 years or something. It's not that big in human history. And can animals talk, right? What kind of animal language is there? What are the arguments about that? I put everything, so there's that. Here, there's a Kahoot final review. What I hate when people have classes is when um, they kind of trick you around the midterm or the final. Uh, and I don't want to do that. I gave you Kahoot so you can practice. It's one of the little bit overwhelming things about linguistics is you actually have a lot of terminology. And, that can make it feel kind of intimidating, but you practice it, it's easy. It's not really, it shouldn't be a problem. And so I'm going to tell you what you need to know, what's kind of extra, what are the things that you need to know that you'll be tested on for the midterm and then for the final. For the midterm, you can use the Kahoot to study, and I'll give you a whole bunch of things that I'll say, hey, you need to know this. But then also, I'll make a whole video going over the midterm before it. I do the same for the final. So I'm not trying to throw you any curveballs here. Now, when we're looking at human languages, I put this in the beginning because I want you to think about languages around the world, right? So there are, depending on how you count them, 6 or 7,000 languages in the world. And about half of those, like the last week, we'll be doing something on endangered languages and indigenous genocide. About half of those are in danger of extinction because of primarily, European settler colonialism around the world. I mean, why do you have English or or Spanish or Portuguese or all around the world? Well, because of European settler colonialism and colonialism in general, imperialism in general. Okay, so world languages. That's crash courses. It's really cool. Second week, phonetics, the sound of language, phonology. So phonetics is like the really looking in detail at little sounds that, you know, even less than sounds with meaning, while phonology is more how sounds interact with each other and patterns, bigger patterns in sounds. We'll explain it in depth later. Grammar and syntax, really important. And we'll be covering a lot in relation to that, but I only go in so much depth into it because you could just, again, I took undergraduate and graduate courses in uh, phonetics, phonology, and syntax alone. Um, so study material of phonetics from final and midterm. You have to know some of the places and manner of articulation. Actually, the places, I don't test you on the manner. Um, and then you need to know some of the international phonetic alphabet. And I have a very limited range that I'm going to hold you accountable to. If you want to do deep dives, got all kinds of extra deep dives you can do on that kind of stuff. So the midterm is actually due June 30th. I'm going to correct this, but um, you know, I have a review video, a cheat video right there. Watch what I outlined. Then the midterm. Then the third week, we're going to cover morphology, which is the word, parts of the word with meaning related to mythology. Morphology is etymology. Etymology is the study of word roots and the origin and history of words. Related to that, history of English, which is coming before historical linguistics because I want to expose you to that. I want you to know at least the three periods of English: computational linguistics, which is blowing up with AI and stuff like that; semantics, which is looking for meaning. How do we create meaning? Pragmatic means practical, and like we say things, but they may mean different things. So pragmatically, what are we saying? Critical discourse analysis there's is looking critically at how people are using language, looking at the deeper meanings, looking at how language is used for control, to gatekeep for power, for what we call hegemony, the control of ideas and access to ideas. Um, then week 4, we'll be looking at neurolinguistics, psycholinguistics, first and second language acquisition. We'll continue on second language acquisition. Sociolinguistics, which is sociology with language families, and historical linguistics. The last week, you'll have your final. Again, I have the review. I'll have a video helping you to study, and we'll be covering endangered languages. So I do want you to know that if you have questions throughout the semester, you can contact me. You can always, if you have questions, you can email me. If you think the whole class will benefit, leave a reply in the asynchronous office hours and just leave it up there. Either other students can answer it or I will answer it. Um, you find, I'll explain a lot of this other stuff later. This is like basically a whole discussion board for memes and GIFs and channels, social media channel, whatever about linguistics, because I want to make it as interesting as I can. So this is longer than I thought it would be. I will have a longer one introducing the whole course so you can understand how it really functions. But this should help you. I hope you can feel welcome and hope I can, I know sometimes before taking a new course, you kind of feel anxious. I don't want you to feel anxious. I want you to feel welcome and that you can communicate with me, and that I'll support you, hopefully, to you getting an A. All the way. I would love it if everybody got an A. I would feel that was success, and I'll leave you there. I'll till my next video. Take care.